All right, today we're taking a really deep dive into one of the most fascinating and honestly most misunderstood chapters of modern history, the true, declassified story of the U.S. government's official UFO investigations. We are going to completely bypass the Hollywood movies and the wild internet rumors and instead rely entirely on verified archival source material. We want to understand exactly what the military was doing, what they actually found, and why it absolutely still matters for how we view unexplained phenomena today. So picture this. It's the height of Cold War paranoia. The United States and the Soviet Union are locked in a super tense standoff. Brand new jet aircraft are pushing the very boundaries of aviation, and suddenly, everyday citizens start reporting strange things hovering above them. Our story really kicks off right here, with the kind of official, authenticated flying saucer photographs kept straight in the U.S. National Archives, collected by the Air Force themselves. And that brings us to the big, central question we have to ask ourselves, and the exact one we're going to answer in this explainer. What was the U.S. government really hiding in its UFO files? Over the course of a massive, decades-long investigation covering over 12,000 cases, the military amassed a truly incredible dossier. So let's unravel that dossier together, using only documented historical facts. Section 1, the flying saucer craze. The whole phenomenon as we know it essentially exploded in the summer of 1947 when a pilot named Kenneth Arnold reported seeing 9 extremely fast-moving objects skipping through the sky. Now, the government's reaction escalated rapidly, primarily because they feared these saucers might actually be top-secret Soviet weaponry. So the military launched a series of highly methodical investigations. They kicked things off with Project Sign in 1948. Which then morphed into a much more skeptical Project Grudge in 1949. Finally, as the reports just kept flooding in, including a huge wave of sightings right over Washington, D.C. in 1952, the Air Force established Project Blue Book, and this program would run continuously all the way until December 1969. Section 2. Inside Project Blue Book. You might be wondering, what was it actually like on the ground inside the Air Force's premier intelligence-gathering operation? Well, headquartered at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the team had their work cut out for them. They collected standardized reports, interviewed witnesses, and brought in top scientific experts. And these analysts faced some incredibly difficult visual investigations. I mean, they had to figure out, is this a craft? Is it just a weird reflection? They occasionally had to rule out outright hoaxes, but way more often, they were dealing with honest misidentifications. For instance, in one famous case analyzed by astronomer Dr. Thornton Page, what totally looked like high-altitude craft doing impossible maneuvers over Salt Lake City actually turned out to be seagulls. They were just flying much closer to the camera than the photographer realized. To get to the actual truth, they had to apply rigorous testing to every single piece of visual evidence. Air Force analysts carefully measured everything against known atmospheric phenomena, common optical illusions, and even our own secretive government tech. Just as an example, during the 1950s, a huge spike in UFO reports was literally just civilians spotting the covert U-2 spy plane or high-altitude skyhook weather balloons catching the sunlight at 60,000 feet. But the most crucial takeaway is buried right there in the raw data. Over its 22-year run, Project Blue Book logged a staggering 12,618 reports. But here's the thing. 94.4% of those cases were completely unofficially explained away. They were just stars, planets like Venus, weather balloons, atmospheric inversions, or standard aircraft. But that still left a very small, highly intriguing sliver of the data officially unsolved. 701. That specific number is what anchors the true historical mystery of Project Blue Book. Even after deploying their absolute best intelligence officers, radar analysts, and scientific consultants, there were exactly 701 cases that the United States Air Force simply could not identify. Section 3. Explaining the unexplained. So, what exactly made those specific 701 sightings so uniquely baffling to mid-century intelligence officers and some of the country's top scientific minds? Let's go back to Dr. Thornton Page. He pointed out that this 5% or so remained unidentifiable for a very specific reason. The physics simply didn't match our known reality. Highly credible witnesses, including seasoned military pilots, were reporting objects executing sudden changes in motion. We're talking sharp turns or rapid takeoffs that would be physically impossible for any known aircraft or space vehicle designed by the US, the British, or the Russians at the time. Yet, despite these mind-bending reports, scientists remained highly skeptical that aliens were visiting us. Why? Well, as Dr. Page noted, space is just astronomically vast. Traveling 4 or 5 light years to the nearest star at ordinary rocket speeds would take way longer than a human lifetime. Because of that immense barrier, the scientific consensus within Blue Book heavily doubted these unknown objects were actual physical visitors from another star system. Section 4, Facts versus Folklore. Because, let's be real, when you have 701 officially unexplained cases sitting there, rumors are inevitably going to rush in to fill the void. So let's tackle the biggest rumor right out of the gate, the infamous 1947 Roswell incident. While the folklore insists it involved recovered alien bodies, the archival facts tell a completely different story. Official Air Force and Government Accountability Office reviews concluded the Roswell debris actually came from Project Mogul. That was a highly classified Cold War balloon test designed to detect Soviet nuclear blasts. Crucially, Roswell happened before Blue Book even existed, and if you look at the Blue Book archives, there is absolutely zero evidence of extraterrestrial bodies or materials ever being recovered. And here's another incredibly popular rumor, the supposed existence of a top-secret Majestic 12 committee covering it all up. Well, archivists at the National Archives rigorously examined those so-called leaked documents, and they proved they were totally fabricated. They completely lack proper official markings, and they're full of glaring historical anachronisms, like using security classification stamps that didn't even exist in the years the documents were supposedly written. It's a proven hoax, plain and simple. Ultimately, the Air Force, alongside an independent university study known as the Condon Committee, reached 3 very sobering conclusions. 1. UFOs presented no threat to national security. 2. The sightings represented no technological developments or principles beyond modern science. And 3. There was zero evidence of extraterrestrial vehicles. Based entirely on those firm conclusions, Project Blue Book was officially shut down in December 1969. Section 5. The Modern UAP Legacy. You didn't think the story completely ended in 1969, did you? How does the closure of Blue Book connect to the headlines we're seeing right now about unidentified aerial phenomena? Fast forward to 2022, the Department of Defense establishes AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. The military is once again officially looking at the skies. But this time, their approach is heavily focused on modern transparency, standardizing reports, and using incredibly advanced multi-domain sensors. Yet even with all that new tech, they are standing directly on the historical baseline of data that was first meticulously collected by the investigators of Project Blue Book. Which leaves us with one really compelling question to wrap up this explainer. Will modern transparency and advanced 21st century technology finally solve those 701 completely unidentifiable cases that Project Blue Book left behind? The Cold War military did the absolute best they could with the tools they had, but the sky clearly still holds its secrets. It really makes you wonder what our modern sensors might finally reveal. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep looking up.